So I'm back from uh, whatever that philosophical tangent that I was on the last video. I it's funny. It was one of those things where when I was watching it, I didn't make any shorts from it. Yeah, YouTube shorts. Reels is Instagram. Shorts is YouTube. Cause I'll like watch the videos and be like, yeah, I could like clip that and make like a short or whatever. And then, but it's like I have to rewatch it, be like, what did I say? And I do the same thing where it's kind of like, where I'm like, yeah, man, you like talk totally around like your central point. It's very annoying. It's actually like a good exercise in like, self critique because it's like basically kind of the point that I had in the last video. If you want to watch the last video, it's long. This one's not going to be as long, but it's basically that artists are sort of a community. They're united in a brother slash sisterhood of suffering, and there should be a certain amount of commiseration and consideration for each other in that, regardless as to what your status is in the community. Because your status is not really determined. I mean, to a certain extent, the community of artists does raise certain people to certain levels of status, like probably artistic people would rate Bob Dylan very high. He's rated very high in the non-artistic community world too, not as high as he is in the artistic community world. So there's a certain level of valuation there. But a lot of times what I was going to say is that the valuation is imposed from outside in, and that's like your commercial appeal and stuff. And lots of artists, like you look at, like I talk about Zappa pretty frequently, and Zappa, was somebody who would constantly joke about having no commercial appeal because at some point somebody told him like, hey, you've got no commercial appeal or whatever, and this kind of like stuck with him. Like, I'm not big into the Pink Floyd lore, but I mean, there's obviously like Have a Cigar is like tied into a similar lore, and the Kinks, that I think it's the Money Go Round on, that's my favorite Kinks album, is Lola versus Power Man. That's a really great album. But like that one's about the music industry and how you're basically being granted this esteem by your commercial performance and by like the public does and whatever. So yeah, a lot of those people that are in the artistic community, they let that sort of outside esteem and valuation go to their head, and then they kind of are maybe dismissive to other people in the artistic community. And like sort of my point was like, you shouldn't being part of that community. It's a community. It's like I've run marathons and stuff. And so when I see people running, I feel like, especially like that, like they're doing it, it's like a part of their lifestyle. I feel like a communal sense with them. I'm like, oh, that's like one of my people. And when you see people at I haven't run a marathon in like 4 or 5 years or whatever, but you see people out there and you're like, this is kind of a sort of extended family for me. Art, music, and things like that, it's another sort of extended family. And I think that people should try to be have consideration for people in their community, because this is like we're in like a sort of atomized society, so you get to pick and choose what communities you're in. And I think that being in an artistic community is really good. So I mean, for considering all things, what did I say? In black metal, I was neglecting things. It's what? Black metal, its existence is suffering, antinatalism, I guess, and the most important thing, only death is real, like a worshiping of death. That's the most important thing, and I totally forgot it. Death is what will absolve you of existence and make everything better. And on that point, I'm moving on to greener pastures. It was his birthday yesterday, I guess. This is a big guy for me and Nick. I had to make sure to grab all the ones that are the most essential to me. Wow. It's like pick a card, any card. This is like the most important one in a sense. No, I don't know. Maybe is it? Excuse me. I love this one. The first album, it was weird because it was like I was working at the record store. I was at Penny Lane. It was the late 90s. And those people were really, well, some of them. I had a few friends that were kind of into like what was, you know, this is what they were into. Built to Spill, Modest Mouse, Red Meat, Elliott Smith, Radiohead, things like that. And these people were of varying degrees of unbearableness. So there were certain things that I was sort of resistant to because of them. I mean, one of those guys was my buddy Jason, and he was not a bad guy. And he kind of got me to appreciate certain things. But the climate was very difficult. So, like I've said before in other videos, I had to kind of get away from that community in order to start appreciating the music that they were playing, because I really just did not like those people and kind of the elitist vibe that they had. The album, it was really interesting. Oh, you know what? I remember listening to this at Rhino Records. This was around when it came out. And I was like, it's pretty good. I like it. Not sure if I'll buy it or not. And I don't remember if I bought it or not. I don't think I did, because this isn't the one from Rhino Records. I think this is from Benway Records. I think what ultimately got me to start appreciating Elliott Smith, and this is cheesy and lame, but I'm going to like cop to it right now, is the Royal Tenenbaums. When that came out and I saw that, and Needle in the Hay, I was like, wow, this is really impressive. Something about the music in that scene, it totally captured. Hey, that brings me back to the only... See, I knew I wasn't just spouting off about like my love of death for no reason, because the Needle in the Hay scene in Royal Tenenbaums, it's a very dark scene, but it was really like, I was really impressed with it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check this guy out now for real. So I think I went, and because of that, I went and bought this album. And then I'm listening to it, as Nick and I would say, with clean ears. And I was just hooked. I was like, whoa, this is really great, like all the way through. And the vibe. And then there's also something about this album that, it's very particular. But there's something about this album that certain songs are so spectral and ghostly that it seems like they've kind of been with you for a longer period of your life than they actually were. Like, I remember certain times when I was with like one of my ex-girlfriends. I was like a teenager, and it's like in my memory, I could swear that we were listening to like Alphabet Town or something together, but that's impossible because I wasn't listening to Elliott Smith back then. You know, the fact, I remember, I think I saw Good Will Hunting with that particular girlfriend, and it was really interesting because I hate that movie. I hate Good Will Hunting, and so having Elliott Smith on the soundtrack to that was another thing that kind of prejudiced me against him, because it was just this whole like vibe around that. But it's weird. There's songs on here that they're so like interdimensionally spectral that you kind of imagine that they existed in your life prior to them actually coming into your life. You know, that's a really remarkable thing. Not just that you can make art that resonates with people, or music that resonates with people, and that they'll carry on, you know, for the rest of their lives or whatever, that evoke memories, that when you're playing certain songs, they invoke memories for you, things like that. Those are all the great things about music and art. But it's also interesting for when you make something that doesn't just do that, but it tricks your mind into thinking that you've had it longer than you actually did. So I went and got this because of the Royal Tenenbaums, probably whenever that movie came out. And then I was like, okay, now I'm in. I'm in. I think probably what I ended up getting next was this Benway Records. Now it was like, I remember listening to it at Rhino Records, is like when it came out. But now I'm a fan. So I'm like, it's brilliant. Son of Sam. The Lost and Found. You can't find bad tracks on these albums that I'm talking about. LA, dude, it's really amazing. So I'm listening to it. So now I'm in. I get this one. I think what I got next was EXO. Now, there's something about, obvious. I think a lot of people, and you're going to see them talking about Elliott Smith, I think you're getting a lot of visceral fan. You're getting a lot of visceral fan reacts / videos or whatever. In a sense, I'm giving you that because, I'm doing the video, so I'm a fan and I love the guy. But I do want to say that I'm going to go and I'm going to put this at the top. And it's for not visceral, not overly emotional reasons. It's because in a lot of ways, I think the execution and the tactical songwriting, if you want to call it that on this, is just really exceptional. It's just the pooling of all his resources and powers and everything, and just nailing it. And he did it. And so in a non-emotive, non-visceral sense, I'm putting this one at the top because of its tactical brilliance and the precision and the sophistication of the songcraft and the execution, right? Baby Britain is like, I have a friend, Beth, and she was like, Baby Britain's kind of just this exercise to sort of write a Beatles song. But you know what? I mean, writing a Beatles song that's at the caliber of the Beatles is very difficult. And he did it. Baby Britain, right? Bled White, Waltz number 2. So we're just going to put this I'm going to put this at the top. And you know what? A lot of the people that do have the visceral fan thing, they don't put this one at the top. You know what they put at the top of their list? They put this one, or they put this one, generally. So, not that there's anything wrong with these. I'm just saying, if you watch one Elliott Smith tribute video this year, make it this one. No. So, EXO, that's going to be at the top. I don't think I got this one right away after that. You know what? I think what might have happened is I'm trying to remember the order of events. That's what I always quote this, but Nietzsche says the ability to forget is what makes life bearable. And, he's right about that. I might have gotten, I because you're picking up things at the same time. I started to get whatever Heat Miser stuff I saw. So I got, where are they? Oh, you know what? Do I have Cop and Speeder here? I don't have Cop and Speeder. I do have Cop and Speeder somewhere. Nick actually gave me a copy on vinyl too. Cop and Speeder is good. I got this one. This one, so it was basically Neil, Gust, and Elliott were the main guys for this band. Neil was actually the driving force for this album, their first one. And Candyland is a Neil Gust song. It's killer, dude. And I'm trying to remember. I think Cannibal might be an Elliott song, but Neil was kind of in the driver's seat for the early days of Heat Miser. I think Cop and Speeder, you have You have them neck and neck, but Neil's song was the single, which is Why Did I Decide to Stay? And that's a really good song. That, you know, you're talking about the top Heat Miser songs. Why Did I Decide to Stay is probably in the top 5 with songs off this album. This is where both Neil Gust and Elliott Smith, they're both firing on all cylinders. Elliott is he just comes out on top because at this point he's kind of like unstoppable. But Neil Gust's songs aren't to be discounted. People kind of discount, reusing a word, kind of Get Lucky, which is the first track. I think Get Lucky's all the way through this album is just really amazing, and I like Get Lucky. I think it's a cool like rock opener, and I think there's like something to be said about like you're a rock band, and you're making like an album that's rock, and you have like an opening track like Exile on Main Street has Rocks Off, or bands that have just like a kick-ass lead song to an album. It's kind of the curtain rising moment. That's what Get Lucky is. It's not a bad song. Plain Clothes Man brings the tone down a lot. Low Flying Jets is a Neil Gust song. That's great. I think it is. Rest My Head Against the Wall is a Neil Gust song. Then The Fix Is In, one of the finest Elliott Smith songs ever. The Fix Is In, I'm Going Where I Don't Belong. Cruel Reminder is a Neil Gust song. Pop and G is an Elliott Smith song. And then See You Later, another just absolute banger by Elliott Smith. So I'm putting this one over on this stack where we're saying these are like albums that like are just the pinnacle. I never got to see him live. He was kind of going through pretty rough patch. I myself was not in as rough a patch as I'd been a few years prior, but I was still kind of dabbling a lot and not like, I mean, I'd go to shows and stuff, but so he passes away and they release this and I get this. This is great. I have a lot of like philosophical things I could say about this record. I think that I don't know how much I do want to get into it. It's good all the way through. There's something about King's Crossing that it's there's a guy that wrote a biography of Elliott Smith and people dismiss it or whatever, and I read it and then I passed it on, and that guy kind of placed the really strong emphasis on King's Crossing. It was a song that it took Elliott Smith a long time to finish, and it sort of has this role in the mythos of Elliott Smith that like the Requiem has for Mozart. Like it's like this undeniably great song. It has, and part of what's undeniable is it's like poetic in a lyrical sense. You know, this is the place where time reverses and dead men talk to all the pretty nurses. Instruments shine on a silver tray. Don't let me get carried away. King's Crossing is kind of his Requiem. It's almost sort of like it's somebody sort of like carving their own headstone. And I mean that in the best way possible. What did I tell you all this, like all my pessimistic views about things, right? So obviously it's not bad for me to say that. I think that's cool. Right? Hey, you know, people die every day. It's just a fact of life. It's an unavoidable thing. Some people get to really curate their passing like David Bowie did. And then some people, they're not as in control, but they have enough artistic sort of, I don't want to say force or will. There's got to be some sort of German word that works in there to sort of marshal their forces and sort of confront and sort of articulate this issue of death in a Heideggerian sense, their death. And that's what's going on in this album. And the pinnacle of it is King's Crossing. That's his death that he's talking about. And he's talking about it in the most real and authentic, in a Heideggerian sense, that anyone could do. I'm going to put it in this pile. This is great. Visceral reaction. I'm running out of time because I don't want to make this too long. Punch and Judy is one of the most heartbreaking songs. It just is. This is a great album. He didn't release any bad albums, dude. I don't actually have the first album. I never listened to it. What, Roman Candle or whatever? I don't know it. You can hate on it. Hate on it in the comments if this video gets any traction. But Punch and Judy, man. Actually, I have Elliott Smith lyrics tattooed on me. I just realized I wrote "The moon is a sickle cell, it'll kill." I'm a big fan. I forgot. I am. Punch and Judy. I only thought of that just because I was thinking about getting some lyrics from that song. This is like the 2 CD reissue. It's got bonus tracks. This is great too. I'll put this in this pile, even though it, to be fair, New Moon, tracks. I think this is Kill Rock Stars, yes, and it's just a bunch of sort of tracks that never made it onto albums and outtakes, and they're all really well recorded. The version of Miss Misery on here, I remember. I think I was playing cards with my dad or whatever, and we're listening to the CD, and that version of Miss Misery, the early version, comes on, and my dad's like, "Whoa, that's a really sad song. That's awesome, dude." And you know, it's just like, whoa, it is really incredibly sad. The version of Pretty Mary Kay, I like Pretty Mary Kay, but this is like, I'm gonna go down in the water, fill my mouth up full of sand. I'll be waiting, still impatient with my dead imagination while you're with some other man. Pretty Mary Kay, I'm going to put in this pile. But it's just great all the way through both discs. He does another version of See You Later on there too. This is the soundtrack to that movie, documentary. It's good. You know, I don't listen to it that often, but you could throw it on. But anyway, so yeah, he's one of the greats. He's been a big influence on me, Nick, and I'll always cite him if I'm talking about like the Happy Casualties as far as like our biggest influences. It's always, well, it's like Replacements, Elliott Smith, Big Star, American Music Club, things like that. So he's up there. He is just one of the most important guys that you can. He's one of the most important artists you can listen to. It can't be overstated, and so, you know, go and check out some Elliott Smith. I'm sure everyone watching this video has and does. He's having a resurgence, and lots of people are getting into him and appreciating it. There's a poetic depth to him that, you know, I was talking about sort of the outside, the mainstream, and then it affects the artistic community inside or whatever. There's a poetic depth that he has that actually extends out from the artistic community out into the mainstream commercial sort of world, where more people who aren't really part of that artistic community, who always really valued him highly and rated him highly, people in like the outside that community, that are in like the world of the commercial music and commercial music appreciation and stuff, they are like, you know, they really have ascertained the intensity and depth of his work and his greatness. So that's it. Go, you know, happy belated birthday to the maestro. He's one of the greats. He was possessed by genius. As like Norman Mailer said of William Burroughs, Elliott Smith was possessed by genius. Whatever Mozart had, Elliott Smith had it. So go listen to Elliott Smith. Happy belated birthday, and I'll talk to you later.